This is another video in the SudokuPrimer series. This is puzzle number 27. It's an easy puzzle from Sudoku to Go, volume 102 by Soap Opera Digest. And what I'm going to do on this video is talk about some concepts you can use on easy. You can use on any level of puzzle, but they're fairly easy concepts that will help you solve probably easy and medium puzzles. I'll talk about a couple of patterns and also solving a single cell. And then I'm also going to talk about row completion, column completion, and square completion, which are all really the same thing, but just different containers or different groups of numbers. So to get started, I wanted to talk about this cell right here. This cell has every single number except for one of them that it can see. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we know there's a 5 that goes there. Now that's what we call solving a single cell, or looking at a single cell and seeing if you can figure out just from the cell itself what goes in there. Okay, and also wanted to talk about row, column, and square completion. And here's a good example of that right here. We've got a column with only two numbers missing. Let's see what those numbers are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 and 8 are missing here. Here's a 4 right here, so we know this is an 8, and that's a 4. So that's what we call, sometimes call container completion. A container is either a row, a column, or a square, each of which will hold all 9 numbers 1 through 9 and have no duplicates. So let's look at a few of these containers that are pretty full. We'll do this an example with rows, columns, and squares. This row along the top here is missing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, and 7. Here's a 7, so that's a 1. We know that's a 1 or a 2. There's no 1, 2, or 7 in either of these columns or in this square here, so these can be any one of those three numbers, 1, 2, or 7. We know one of them is a 7 because the 7 can't fit here. So that's a row. We already solved a column. Let's look at this other column right here. Let's see if we can solve that one. We're missing 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 3, and 8. Okay. So let's see if we can find that. Here's an 8 and here's an 8, so we know that's a 1 or a 3. Here's a 3, so we know that a 3 can't fit in either one of these places right here, so we know this is a 3. And what do we have left? We have a 1 and an 8 left. And I don't see any 1s or 8s here, so we can't solve those yet. Okay, let's try a container. A square, which is the last of the 3 containers. We've already solved a column here, and we tried solving a row. We haven't succeeded in solving a row yet. But here's a square that has all numbers except for 2. And the numbers that are missing here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1 and 6. Here's a 6 right here, so we know that's a 1 and that's a 6. So that's an example of solving a square. One thing that we can do here too, and this is a little bit more advanced technique, we're missing a 1 and an 8 here, right? So we know what these two numbers are. They're 1 and 8. So we can figure out what these two numbers are. So we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we know these are 2 and 7 because we know these are 1 and 8. That's another way, a little bit more advanced way of solving a container. So we've got 1, 8 here, 2, 7 here, and we've got a 7 there, so we know this is a 2 and this is a 7. Now all we've got is 3 numbers left here. What are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 5, and 8. Well, we got a 3 here and a 3 here, so we know this is a 3. And it doesn't look like we can solve the 5 or the 8 yet. Let's look at this column right here. This one might be a little more difficult because the empty cells are spread out, but shouldn't be too bad. So let's try this. Let's see what's missing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 8, and 9 are missing. And here's an 8 and a 9, so that's 1 and 2, 1 or 2 that will be in this cell. And you remember this is 1, 2, and 7 here when we are looking at this row. Okay, so we have 1 or 2 there. What do we have here? The only one of the 4 numbers we have here are 9 is 9, so this can be a 1, 2, or an 8. This right here can be a 1, 8, or 9 because we have a 2. And here we could be 1, 2, or 9 because we have an 8 here. Oh, there's a 2. So that's a 1 or a 9. Okay. Let's look at this row right here. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 5, and 7 are missing here. Okay. Okay, there's a 5. So that's a 1 or a 7. That's going to be a 1, 5, or 7. And there's a 5 here, so that's a 1 or a 7. Oh, there's a 1 there too, so we know that's a 7 right there. And what do we have left? We have 1 and 5 left. There's a 5 there, so we know that's a 1. And that's a 5. Okay. Let's see if we can solve this column right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3, 4, 7, and 8 are missing in this column. Here's a 4 and an 8, so we know that's a 3 or a 7. Here's a 4 or a 7. Let's see. 3, 4, 7, and 8 are what we're missing there. 3, 7. Here's a 4, 7, so we know that's a 3 or an 8. Okay. The only thing I see in these is a 3, so these are 4, 7, or 8. So that one we can't really solve. These were 5 and 8, and we haven't put any more numbers in here. Let's look at this one right here and see if we can. There are 4 numbers missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 1, 2, 4, 8 are missing here. Okay, so a 1 can be anywhere. A 2 can be here, here, or here. A 4 can be anywhere. Oh, nope. A 4 can be here, one of these two places, and an 8 can be anywhere, except for this top row right here, 8. Okay. I was going to try and solve this entire puzzle just by solving rows, columns, and squares, and I'm not sure how successful we'll be, but we'll keep plugging away at it. If we can do that, this will be a good way of learning how to solve it this way. Okay, right in this column right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, and 9 missing. There's a 5 there, so that's a 4 or a 9. That's 4, 5, or a 9. And there's a 4 or a 5, 4 and a 5, so we know that's a 9. Okay, and there's a 5 here, so we know that's a 4, and so that's a 5. Okay, we've only got 2 cells empty in this one here, and they are 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 and 3, and there's a 1 there, so we can finish that one. Alright, what do we have left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a 2 there. So we know that's an 8 and that's a 2. Let's look at the rest of this row right here and the rest of this square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 7, and 9. There's a 3 here and a 3 here, so we know that's a 3. There's a 3 and a 7 here, so we know that's a 9 before we place that 3 there. And the 7 will go right there. Okay, let's look and see what's missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 and 7. Can't see anything there yet. So let's see, we got 1, 2, and 7 at the top here. There's a 1, so that's a 2 or a 7. That's a 1 or a 2, and that's 1, 2, or 7. Let's just go through each row, and we'll see if we can finish any of them, and then we'll go through each column. Let's go through this one. 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 3, 8, 9. Here's a 3 and a 9, so that's 1 or an 8. We know this is a 1 or an 8. Here's a 3 and an 8, so that's 1 or 9. And we know, let's see, 1, 3, or 9. Okay. Now, let me show you a little bit advanced trick here. These are both 1 and 8, 1 or 8. And since these are both 1 or 8, they're called twins. And so we know that a 1 has to fit in one of them and an 8 has to fit in the other. We don't know which one is a 1, which one's an 8 yet. But that leaves 3 and 9 left over. And there's a 3 there, so we can put a 9 there and a 3 here. That's what we call twins. And then solving, after we've found twins, a little bit more advanced topic. Okay. So we got 1 and 8 there. Let's look at this row right here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 8. 1, 2, 4, 5, 8 is missing. So we got a 4, 5 there. So 1, 2, and 8 are missing. So that could be a 1, 2, or an 8. Let's look at this one. 1, 4, 5, 8. So that could be a 1, 4, or an 8. This can be a 1 or an 8, as we know. Here's a 1, so this can be a 2, 4, 5, 8. A 2 or a 5, is we got 1, 2, 4, 5, 8. This one here is a 1, 2, 4, 5, 8. So that's a 1 or a 2. We don't know any better there on that one. Okay, let's look at this row right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4, 7, 8, 9. Okay, these are 4 7s. Because we got 8, 9 here, and we looked at those a minute ago. So that's 4, 7. There's a 7 there, so that's 4, 8, or 9. Oh, here's a 4, 7, and 9, so we know that's an 8. So we have 4, 7, 8, 9. And then we can just put this 5 in because we had 5 8s there before. Okay, so we found one of the numbers. Now all we need is 4, 7, and 9. There's a 9. So that's a 4 or a 7. There's a 9, so that's a 4 or a 7. So we know this is a 9 because the 9 can't fit there or there. Okay. And what we have left is 4 and 7, and I don't see any way to solve that. So let's go to the next row. 1, 2, 4, 7, 8. So 2, 4, 7, 8. And again, we have 4 7s here, so there's a 2 and an 8. So 4, 7, 2, 4, 7, 8. So that's a 4 or an 8. 4, 7, 4, 8. This one can be any of the 4, 2, 4, 7, or 8. And here's an 8, 4, and an 8, so that's a 2 or a 7. Now, if you remember, let's see. We have 4 and an 8. Okay, sorry, I thought we had another set of twins here, but I don't think so. We have 2 or 7 here, 2, 4, 7, 8, 4 or 8, and 4 or 7. All right, let's look at this row right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. 1, 6, 8, and 9 are missing here. We've got a 6 and a 9 here, so that's a 1 or 8. Okay, there's only a 9 here, so 1, 6, or 8 there. 1, 6, what was it? 1, 6, 8, 9. So there's a 1 and a 6 here, and there's a 9 there, so we know that's an 8. So we have 1, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so now we only have 1, 6, and 9 left, and so here's a 6 and a 9, so we know that's a 1. Now we only have 6 and 9 left, and there's a 9, and now we only have 9 left. Okay, so we were able to complete that one. So I hope you're getting the idea of how to solve containers, or how to solve rows, columns, and squares. We haven't solved many squares, so let's look at these 2 squares right here, see if we can solve them. This one's missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or 4, 7, and 8 are missing. And we know there's an 8 and 9 here because these are our 4 7s that we had before. So we know this is an 8. Another way to see that is there's an 8 here, so neither one of these could be an 8. We still can't solve those 4 7s, but we were able to put in that 8 there. Let's look at this square right here and see if we can solve any numbers. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 4, and 7. Here's a 4. Here's a 2. So we have 2 can be here, 4 can be here, and 7 can be anywhere. So I don't think we can solve those right now. Okay. We did fill in this 8 here, so let's look at this row one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 4, and 7. We know this is a 4 and a 7, and because there's 2. Let's see, this is 2, 4, or 7, and this is 2 or 7. So we still can't solve those. Let's look at this one right here. We only have 2 numbers left. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, those are 4 sevens. And we can't solve those either. We don't see any 4s in here or in this column here. Something that's interesting about containers, rows, columns, and squares when you're trying to solve them is when you're trying to solve a row like this one, for example, and you're looking at an empty cell, you look at the column that's associated with it and the square that's associated with it. So these are 4 and 7. We're missing a 4 and a 7. So here we look at this column. Since we're solving a row, we look at the column and the square, the other two containers, to see if we can find that number. If you're solving a square, you look at the rows and the columns that are associated with that square. Like in this case, we have these 3 right here. You look at these 2 columns and these 2 rows. If you're solving a column like this one, we're missing a 1 and an 8 here, right? So you look at, so you're solving the column, you look at this row and this square. So if you're looking for a 1 or an 8, you look along here and see if you can see a 1 or an 8. You look here and see if you can find a 1 or an 8. Okay. So interesting correlation there. All right, let's look at this row right here. I think we can solve that one. We're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 and 8, and there's an 8 there. So we put the 1 in, and then we can solve these 1/8s right here also. All right. Let's try and solve this square because we focused mostly on rows and columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 2, 4, and 8 missing. Here's a 4, so the 4 has to be there. And the only thing left is 2 and 8, and there's an 8 there, so that's a 2, and that's an 8. All right. So now we've only got 4 and 7 here, and 4 and 7 here, and then we've got, let's see what we got here, 1 and 7. Yeah, 1 and 7. So we've got a 1 here, so we know that's a 7 and that's a 1. And what do we have left here? Let's solve this square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 and 5. And there's a 5, so we know that's a 2 and that's a 5. Okay. Now we've only got 4, 7 here. We still can't solve those, so we'll have to solve this square right here or this row. Well, actually, this column, there's only one number missing. Let's solve that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's a 7. Okay, what's left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 2 and 4 are missing. There's a 2, so that's a 4, and that's a 2. And then we have our 4 7s here. We have a 4 there, so we know that's a 7, and that's a 4. Okay. So that's it. We were able to solve an easy puzzle by using single cell completion and row, column, and square completion. Or the first one is called solving single cells, not single cell completion. I guess you could call it that too. And then we did container completion, or row, column, and square completion. So I hope that helps you understand how to do those techniques. Those should help you in harder puzzles also. Thanks for watching.